All right, hello and welcome. David Kinder here. And today I'm going to talk about something that's been it's been popping up a little bit lately in the forums and on a couple of the Facebook pages I'm on. And there's a big problem out there, and the problem is, from my perspective, is that a lot of people are looking at this as a job. And I have a feeling, well, no, it's not a feeling, it's a fact, that people who look at this for a job are going to be sorely disappointed. And I think this has a lot to do with the way that the positions are presented, and it has a lot to do with expectations not being able to be met. And so there's a concept that I want to talk about, and it really is interviewing the interviewer. And by the way, this happens all over the place. My brother was just telling me that he was looking at a job online as a benefits enroller. Turns out it's a supplemental health insurance company that just happens to be recruiting agents. And like that's not going to work for him. Anyway, this is going to be a document that I'm going to have available for download, and you're going to be able to use this in an interview. And what I mean is that you're going to set up a time where you can come back with your own questions. There should be no reason why you can't come back, set up a separate time to ask your own questions. This has to happen, though, after you pass whatever initial career assessment, evaluation, whatever. We commonly call this the LIMRA, the Life Insurance Marketing and Research Association often has a type of career aptitude exam, or the company may have their own version of this to make sure that you're going to be a decent fit. You can't do this part until you've passed that part. Often, in fact, I've heard this with one of the companies I was with in the past. They said if you don't pass this with an acceptable score, the home office won't finance your contract, meaning you won't get the additional bonus on top of your compensation. And so you have to do this, otherwise they won't take you on board. They just won't. They could do it, but the risk ends up falling more on the agency, and the agency, what incentive is there for that to happen? Granted, I do know of some superstar producers who failed that test. Mehdi Fakhrizadeh, who recently passed away, I think last month or 2 months ago, he was the type of person, he did not pass that assessment. But man, he he did quite well for his very long and prosperous and profitable career. Now then, the reason that you need to be able to interview the interviewer is because you are the one taking on the risk. You're the new agent. You're taking on the risk. Because what risk does the company have? The risk the company has is twofold. One is that uh, you could be a compliance risk. You could be very sloppy in everything you do, and you paint a bad name for the company. That's one risk. But the other risk is, what if you don't do enough business? Well, they'll say you didn't make your hurdles this quarter. We have to let you go. Thanks for coming in, and they're going to recruit someone else to take your cubicle. Not a big deal. Okay, so the thing is that you have more of the risk. Um, let's take a look here. So this old truism, I've quoted this many times: you hire them in masses, teach them in classes, sell all their family and friends, and fire their yes. Um, Now here's the thing: you might say, well, that's a brutal way to be. Well, business is brutal. It can be brutal unless you're well trained and well prepared by a company that can help you to do that. Now, here's the thing: you might say, well, managers shouldn't be doing that. Managers are a cog in the system. Don't blame the manager. Okay, they recruit. This is the agency system here. The agency system is so that they recruit so they can use your network of contacts to generate new business, new premium for your agency. If and when you fail, they simply repeat the process. The agency always wins, but the new agents may not. Now, there's a couple of good links for you to review. This is to be able to paint the proper picture of what you're really getting into. Okay? Now, before we start crusading that new agents are always taken advantage of, you have a responsibility. And your responsibility is to bring certain characteristics to the position. And if you don't bring these characteristics, that's on you. So I'm going to talk about that first. You need to understand what's really required of you. And I stole this from a network marketing recruiting page because I learned this about 20 years ago in network marketing. I think it completely applies to financial services. And so let's talk about these things. They called it NC-DART, which is a strange acronym. Doesn't really mean anything except for what it means. N is for network. Most will call this a Project 200. But here's the thing. What if you moved for your spouse's job and you don't have an existing network? What will you do now? Okay, I have a friend of mine. I helped him. He transitioned from being in mortgage services, where it's pretty much was an inbound position, I believe. Inbound calls came to him. It's pretty easy to describe what he does. He's a mortgage broker, if I remember right. And he wanted to make the transition to financial planning. I helped him to find a compatible position for him. And later, his wife, who apparently is a doctor, a surgeon, I can't remember the exact thing. But anyway, my friends were in Louisville, Kentucky, and they moved back to California. Now, the last time that my friend was here in California was probably about 15 to 20 years ago. So I wouldn't say he necessarily has an existing network. So when he came out here, he tried to keep his practice and such. Apparently he didn't, because what he did was he got with a large credit union home office. And now he works in the home office, and he does planning for people all across the country. And that's my understanding of what he does. But if you don't have an existing network, what are you going to do? He essentially works for the home office of a credit union, of a brokerage firm, investment services. That's what he had to do differently. So he has a job, not a business. But if you're going to be interviewing for this, and if you don't have an existing network, what will you do? Which means that to substitute for the network characteristic, you need to bring even more ambition, more drive, and you need to be willing to get out there and talk to people. By the way, in my view, there's two strong companies out there. Well, one strong and one sort of. But that was just my experience. Two companies that will really teach you how to prospect. And one of them is Edward Jones. Look up Edward Jones in your area. Look at how many representatives there are. Every single one of them had to door knock. That's what they teach, door knocking. Every single one had to do it. So they did not have to get by on what I call the Lucky Sperm Club method, which is, do you have an existing network? Do you belong to your alumni association? Do you belong to a fraternity? And do you have a database of contacts there? Do you belong to whatever? That was never me. I was never that way. But dang it, I'm ambitious. Okay, so that's about the network part. So if anything on here is optional, it's the network, because you should be able to get some training to be able to go out and create a new warm market. That's what I call it. By being professional, you can create a new impression with new people and create a new professional relationship if you know how to do it. Now, the next part, credible. Are you viewed as a credible and trusted person by those who know you? Do people trust you? Do they confide in you? Do they respect your opinion? They don't always have to follow it. People are people, we all make our own decisions, but do they confide in you? Do they trust you? Do they see you as reliable? Do they see you as now the opposite of all this would be, do they see you as a clown? Do they see you as, I don't know, you can fill in your own parts there. You have to do a self-assessment. How do people normally view you? Okay? Desire. What's your personal why for yourself? What is it that you want out of this career? Once you know what's possible, why do you want to do this? Now, that should be both internal and external, meaning internal. What is it you want for yourself? What kind of fulfillment? What kind of money? By the way, if you're doing it just for the money, don't do it. This really is a character-driven business. The people with the best character and the people who can back up what they do and they know and are connected to why they do it are the ones that do the best. If you're doing it just because it's a job, get out now. Don't bother. Okay? Now, attitude. I had a different way to rephrase this from that link, from that NC-DART link. Attitude. This is my view of it. Are you asking questions for clarity and insight? Or are you constantly questioning everything you're being told? That's the slight difference, in my opinion, for attitude. I would want to be looking, I've never been in management aside from, I was a bank manager, it was many years ago, which doesn't apply to this particular topic. But if I was looking to recruit people to work with and train in this manner, I'd be looking for who wants to get more clarity and insight, not questioning. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, moving on. Resources and resourcefulness. So I added that additional word there to gain that clarity, because how resourceful can you be? What kind of ingenuity are you going to bring to the position within reason, of course? What resources can you rely on while you're going through training and building your initial cases? Because it takes some time to build your pipeline. What can you invest in your career? And I'm not talking about just money. What else can you be investing? You're obviously investing your time, you're investing your resources, you're investing your network of who you know. Um, you're investing your reputation. You're investing your image. What do you need to earn above your business cost to know that you've made a good career decision? Now, I have a standard on this. Take it for what you want, but I believe that for the insurance and financial services industry, you need to have a goal to at least qualify for the $1 million round table in whatever year you're in. Now, I'm in California. California is a high income, high cost of living state. And if you don't have a goal to at least hit, let's see, for next year, 2020, I think the goal is 98,000 of commissions. If you can't hit at least 98,000, I mean, anything below that, you're starting to get into the suffering mode, okay? Because you're going to take on a lot of risk with your cash flow. And the risk with cash flow impacts your relationships and your marriages and your creditors and all those things. If you don't have a method of steady cash flow that you can create on a regular, ongoing, recurring basis, because you will have the skills to prospect and get referrals. If you can't do that, you end up falling to what Wayne Cotton calls the house of pain. And if we can help you either prevent doing it in the first place or help you realize what the standards are in the beginning, we can help you to avoid all that and have this career be a much more positive experience. Okay? Teachable. Are you going to follow the quality training laid out for you based on the above? Or are you going to fight it every step of the way? Now, what's the difference? The difference between this and the attitude is that, now, originally the attitude was, are you optimistic or pessimistic? Let me tell you something. Sometimes pessimism is healthy. Okay? In a way, I'm almost like, look, I'm open to doing everything, but I need to be sold first. And that is healthy, because that means that you're not going to blindly follow what someone tells you. You have to be sold and convinced yourself first. So pessimism can be healthy in the right way. Okay? At the same time, are you going to fight everything that you're doing? I mean, managers don't need all that. Okay? So I hope that if you're a manager and you're seeing this, you're like, yes, this is a desired mix of traits that I want to see in a new agent or advisor. Now, for example, let me give you an example of a mentality that sometimes permeates with new agents. And to me, it makes no sense, but I'm going to try to understand it. If an agent resists learning scripts, okay, like, here's a packet of scripts, I want you to memorize them. An agent says, I don't want to sound scripted. What they're saying is, I don't want to sound canned. I don't want to sound robotic. I don't want to sound like a salesman. Somehow they equate salesman with the worst ethics and work ethic and the worst personality types. Don't know why that is. Those kinds of people are just untrained. But anyway, if you are a new agent and you have this attitude, that attitude's on the agent. That's not the manager's fault. Okay? Which means that you have a deficiency in either the attitude or the teachability. Okay? And what's the option? Your option is to fix it, ask questions, not be questioning everything. Your job is to ask questions. How can I get around this? Or the other options are you suffer with mediocre results, or you leave the agency or even the industry. Okay? Because you are your own worst enemy at that point. Not intentionally. You're not trying to self-sabotage, but you have an internal belief that, well, I shouldn't have to work like that. I shouldn't have to memorize scripts. I should just be able to give advice. Unless people are asking you for advice and then you can give it, that's not going to work. We're in the proactive advice. We are proactively seeking people who want to take our advice. You have to be able to have things in a structured way so people can make decisions. And that's my next note. I prefer to call it structured communication language because it helps lay out information in a way that others can make informed decisions. Without such language skills, you're always going to be shooting from the hip and you won't get very far very fast. So I had a mentor early on. He was a boss of mine, but good guy. Really loved this guy. And what he once told me is that, David, you got to have a bunch of, he called them tapes, That shows his age, shows my age. You gotta have like 50 tapes in your mind. And when you're having a conversation, you have to be able to know when to take out which tape and use it. Okay? And so each tape is a concept. Each tape is a way of structuring some language to make sure that you're communicating in an organized way so people can understand what you're talking about. Now, if you can't do that or you're unwilling to do that, you're going to be making everything up as you go. And by the way, the longer you do this, the more you realize it's so much easier to just have communication patterns and you use them as needed rather than thinking, oh, I shouldn't have to do it that way. Advisors we need to be experts of simplification. And Leonardo da Vinci, he says simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Okay, so the more we can make things simple, we make it simple on ourselves, make it simple on the clients, make it easier for people to make decisions. We are not human financial encyclopedias. Our job is not to regurgitate definitions. Our job is to simplify concepts so people can make those decisions. Okay, enough on that. Next part. This process does not talk about commissions or compensation. And the reason we're not going to talk about that at all, because it doesn't matter. You will get paid if you write business. If you don't write business, you won't get paid. Now, unless you're going for a salaried position where there's either hourly wage or or you're salaried, whatever that is, unless you have that, it's not going to matter. You're not going to negotiate your contract unless you have prior production that you're bringing in to the agency, that you're showing that you've produced at a certain level. What can you do for me at this level starting out? Because you have proof of production. Keep in mind, I'm looking at the bottom here. Which one pays more, $30,000 at 100% commission or $100,000 at 30% compensation? Truth is, they pay the same. But if you can't write consistent business or large enough business, the 100% contract doesn't matter. That's why you go to an agency. You want the training, you want the learning, you want the environment, you want the ability to learn from other people. Okay, let's go on now. 3 kinds of sections that I've put in here, because not every question is going to be weighed out the same. So I have major questions. These are major areas that are critical to your success. I have some minor questions. These are minor points that are simply good to ask about. Then I have bonus questions. These topics will help you stand out and get additional clarity about what you're doing or help you mitigate your own risks. Okay? So yes, I have some of my philosophy in here. So 1A, major. Personal prospecting referral training. Our inventory is people. Our job is to turn through people, not churn, don't misunderstand me. Our job is to go through our inventory. And you need skills to fill your pipeline of quality people who will see you on a favorable basis, both from your efforts and the connections and efforts of others. Because there will come a point where you just can't fill your own pipeline at some point. And if you want more enjoyment, you want to help other people to have them champion you to who they know. Okay, that's a key concept right there. So, ask the question, how will you teach me to prospect? What methods? What message? Okay, obviously they're going to all ask about a Project 200. That's okay. A Project 200, you should start with who you know. However, that must not be your only source. I want you to think about this. If you open a restaurant and you only invited your friends, your family, and your relatives and your neighbors, if that was all you invited that knows about your restaurant, do you think your restaurant's going to make it? I would say no. If you open a hotel and you did the same thing, would your hotel make it? No. What's the secret of the business there? For restaurants, it's turning over tables, which means that you've got to have a big announcement. And, for those businesses, you could run specials in the paper and such like that. You make an announcement on social media saying, hey, grand opening, free appetizer, right? You give something to get people to come in and experience your restaurant. Or you do something at the hotel similarly like that if you're starting a brand new hotel to engender yourself and engage the public in your area. Okay, so there's always different ways. Those are different businesses, but keep in mind the concept. You need to see people. We're in the people business, more so than we're in the marketing business, more so than we're in financial services. We're in the people business. We have to be a people person, and we are our own brand. Whoa, look, I'm getting to some advanced concepts there, but keep all of that in mind. So Project 200 cannot be your only source. Yes, you should use it. Yes, you should leverage it, but it can't be your only source. Now, what about referrals from your Project 200? Again, it cannot be your only source. Okay. Networking and niche professional associations. Again, not a bad thing, but it can't be your only source. Think about it. If you're going to the Chamber of Commerce, how often do they do a mixer? How often do they do a morning breakfast thing? I mean, you're only doing that, what, once a month? If you say, well, I prospect through networking, and what if you're sick that morning? No one wants to see you. No one wants to, now you can't prospect for the month? Come on. That doesn't work. Now, also for niche or professional associations, unless you've already been a part of it, if you're starting off, people can tell, oh, you're here to build your business. Well, you're going to go to the vendors or the sponsors section, and we'll see if we want to talk with you over time. We'll see if you last. I had that original mentor of mine, that boss that I had. He was with a Chamber of Commerce. He was part of the ambassadors. I think they call them chamber ambassadors, whatever it is. Anyway, they're trying to attract and welcome in new members. He was a part of that, and I think he told me it took him 5 years before he got his first piece of business from doing that. So I'm not going to tell you it won't work. I'm telling you that, as the Kinder brothers would tell you, that is called tomorrow prospecting, not today prospecting. You have today bills. You have today goals. So some of these things I'm not going to tell you not to. Just keep in mind, keep them in the right type of prospecting mentality. Is that today prospecting or tomorrow prospecting? Based on where you're at now, do you need to do today activities, or should you be putting some time into tomorrow activities? Today activities would be, we got to get on the phone. And by the way, in today's day and age, I'd only get on the phone to call businesses because they actually will pick up the phone. I would not be cold calling residences. I would be going door to door to residences. Introduce yourself in person. Yes, it's slower, but it's far more effective. People actually pick up the phone. I do answer my phone because it's my business line essentially. So I pick up the phone most of the time. But if I don't recognize a number, or it looks like one of those numbers from a dialer, I don't always answer. So keep in mind that we need to get out and see the people. What else? Sending letters and follow-up calls. Your agency may say, we've got an internal prospecting program. We can help you to reach out to, certain types of people. They'll have a database list. This was anyway, I had one agency, they had that program, but there was a cost to it. And how effective is it? Now, you're not expecting people to respond to a letter. The whole idea is you send out a letter and you're just going to follow up as a response to sending the letter. It's not a big deal, kind of traditional, and that would obviously work far better, in my opinion, for business owners or people who are working at an office. Now, my standard, you see this DHK standard, is Drop Me Anywhere by Bill Backrack. I'm going to have a link in the description below for that PDF. My goal is this. I want to be able to be dropped anywhere, and assuming licensing is all taken care of, okay, I want to be able to create value, talk to people, create that value, and be able to set up appointments anywhere that I want to, and with the right kinds of people that I want to. Now, do you have that training? Now, that's my standard. Not every agency has that standard. Do you know why? Because they have, in my opinion, a lot of it's been reduced to where all it is that they want to use your contacts and see if you can make it continue on and get referrals from them, and hopefully you keep going on with referrals. If you're able to do it that way, great. But the reason why most people fail is because they don't have proper expectations and they don't have that kind of a network. It's really not a business plan. It's a buy, hope, and pray. Well, that's a stock market plan. But anyway, buy, hope, and pray. Let's see if this guy works out. You can't take that risk. Okay. Now, a bonus. Does this agency have Whoops. Let's go back here. Does this agency have a financial philosophy or a mission to promote? Now, go onto YouTube, look up Simon Sinek, Start With Why, or look for Just Cause. Actually, watch them both. Okay. Ask the agency, what is your philosophy? Now, you're looking for something a little more than we believe in protection first. That's a self-interest philosophy. Why? Because we believe you should have life insurance and disability and long-term care in place first before you invest. Why? Well, we're an insurance company. Why else would we do it? That's a self-interest reason. That doesn't work. Whatever their philosophy is, it should be framed for the benefit of the person that you want to buy from you. and you want to be taught how to communicate that financial philosophy or mission most effectively when you talk with others. People are far more attracted to what you believe than what you do. So that's a huge bonus. Now, let's put it this way. What if your agency doesn't have one? What if you create one for yourself? But you have to know your product. You have to know how everything fits in so that you can create that philosophy. Okay. Note, being able, if they say this, look, you can do anything with anyone who lives where you're licensed, is code for, we don't care how you do business, just bring in the business. Which means that, hey, we'll let you do it any way you want. I remember when I used to ask about that, and I used to feel pretty good that I'd be left to my own devices. Now I know that that's a trap. You're joining an agency for the agency culture. What is that culture? What drives that culture? What is the mission? Look, as much as I don't necessarily appreciate one particular company that has a mantra of buy term and invest the difference, and I think that a lot of agents really get caught up in that Kool-Aid. Let me tell you something. They're doing something right. There is a culture, and those agents that are into that culture, they love that culture. They love what they stand for. They love the firm. They're doing that part right. I just don't happen to appreciate the message. I don't happen to appreciate the cultish nature of it. But that company's doing something very right because they've got all of their sales force engaged in a mission. They're engaged in that just cause. They have a why. And that's why some people stay with that firm for decades, even if they're not making a whole lot. Because I've seen the statistics. They're not selling a whole lot individually. The only way that they do it is they recruit other agents, and you get 1% of 100 people's efforts, then 100% of your own. That's okay. I'm only saying this because they have a cause, and it's common with most of the great sales organizations. If you don't have that, you need to create it for yourself or find another firm that does have that. Okay, let's go on now. Minor questions, leads and or orphan policyholders. What are the costs of leads? Does your agency even have leads? If they have leads, find out what do they respond to and what are they expecting. Are they expecting a product presentation, which would be a one-call close, or are they expecting a financial analysis, which would be two-call close, and generally a little bit more complex, not by much, but a little more complex and probably a little bit bigger sale. Ask about the cost of the leads. It's okay if the agency makes a profit from the leads off the agents. They need a profit in two ways. One, if the leads all stink one month, they have to have enough capital to keep it going. That's called a cooperative advertising campaign. So there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that's wrong is if they say, here's the leads, go out, go work them, have fun, and you don't have any training. That part is wrong because now it seems like you're the profit center in terms of costs. You're the profit center for the agency. And I've experienced that. At least it felt like I experienced that. It seemed like they just make money off of us for cubicle rent and whatever else. The truth is, they need to be making money off your overrides. And so you need to be able to have that value being brought back. Okay. Are there any orphan policy holders I can also visit to do a policy review? And will I be allowed to contact them? Or when? Find out. It doesn't hurt to ask about that because you're going to be doing a service. People who don't get contact on their older policies, let me tell you, those policies can end up lapsing. They lose their coverage. It's a valuable service. At the same time, you could say, what you don't know about our firm is how we do, this. So when you visit with them, you can offer value-added services. So you can say we do more than just sell policies. We help people to solve problems like, and you can list that out. So there are opportunities there. But ask about it. Now, don't be surprised if they say you need to be here at least 6 months, or they need to say you need to qualify for financing first. Whatever it is, they might have some hurdles. That's okay. Just ask the question. Okay, the next part, major fact-finding process training. Will I learn a sales process that is simple and allows me to do either a one-call or a two-call close without using expensive and complex software? You're like, David, why are you asking this? As opposed to a 6-meeting process, and as opposed to something that's overly complex. Because here's the thing, the simpler the process, the more people you can help using that process. And here's the opposite. The opposite is also true. The more complex the process is, and the longer it takes, the less people you can effectively market that to. And in the insurance business, what is the best way to go? The best way to go is to be able to help as many people as you possibly can. Some of the best top producers have thousands of clients. That's our business model. The investment advisor approach. Um, Investment advisors typically, if you're working with assets under management and such, you want to have fewer relationships that are higher value, and you're earning your money off of fees or assets under management. Um, in a way, I would say you want to, at the most, 250 clients with 400,000 or more, and that would create a $100 million book of business that you're collecting about 1%, maybe 0.8%. That trickles down to you, or at least to your firm, and you get a portion of that. That is a business where you want to have more limited clients with more assets. That's the mark of a profitable firm or advisory practice, not insurance. Insurance, you should be able to work with the masses. John Jacob Astor, he wrote, this was in the, oh, I can't remember the book's name. I think it was The Law of Compensation. But he said, if you serve the masses, you will eat with the classes. If you serve the classes, you'll eat with the masses. Or as John Savage would have said, if you serve the classes, you go belly up, meaning you'll fail. Okay, so in the insurance business, you want to be able to work with as many people as possible. My only other thing on there is that you want to be able to work with those high-end clients, but I would not neglect the bread and butter type business that we all really need, because those people will lead you to more people. Okay. Will I learn a prescribed manner on how to begin a fact find each time? Will I learn how to set the stage prior to asking them questions? You see, with fact finding, unfortunately, we can have an interpretation of it saying we're going to interrogate. Fact finding is not about interrogation. Fact finding is about an exchange of ideas. Share with me what you're doing in this area. Okay, let me share with you a concept. Tell me, what is it that you want for your future? And then you share with them a concept. And they say, well, I want to do it this way. Well, with the path that you're on, let me ask you this. Are you on that path to what you really want? And so you start asking. So it's an exchange of information so that they are getting something out of it while you are also collecting the information so you can put together the strategy. Will I learn how to convey complex financial concepts in a simplified manner so that my prospects will feel that they got something valuable out of the session? I just explained that. Will I learn how to tee up the next appointment, either for the firm's recommendations or for a more intensive analysis with a joint work partner? How do I talk somebody up? And I'm going to give you a hint right here. What you want to do is say, you've got a great situation. Unfortunately, no, never say unfortunately. When I say, you've got a great situation, you've done very well for yourself. Based on this information, I'm going to share this information within my firm. I want to get more ideas before I make my final recommendations, and I might have more questions for you. Would it be okay if I schedule time where I actually bring in somebody who has a little bit more expertise with folks that have your situation, so we can make sure that we get everything right? Because you have so much going on. I want to make sure that we don't leave anything out. Okay, so you always have to position it that you want more minds behind the recommendation. This is about what the firm can provide, not just what you can provide. And that's why you join a firm, is so that you can have that expertise to leverage. And of course, when you leverage it, realize this. If you have to leverage a case, that means you're going to split that case. 100% of nothing is still nothing, but 50% of something can be great, depending on the case and who you're working with. Okay. This is a minor point, but agency selling platform and philosophy. Is there a common software package that the agency subscribes to and promotes for their agents to use? How am I going to learn it? Will learning it also have a cost? I hit a button here. Okay. Can I bring in clients for joint work and wait to purchase this software for myself until I see the results with an experienced joint work partner? Now, for example, there is one company out there that has their own internal software package. It's kind of a bolt-on to eMoney. Guardian Life has their own, what they call living balance sheet. And it's a way to communicate certain concepts and to also have data aggregation from different financial institutions, things like that. Look, I'm sure the software is great, but it has a cost. You want to know that cost. You also want to know, how am I going to learn it? And because if the entire agency is using it, hey, there's a reason for it. Hopefully it's working. Hopefully you can still simplify concepts and get immediate business. But if you can't, if you've got to work with joint work and you got to do it this way, let's see if you can leverage someone else's subscription. You still split the case. You're learning as you go, and then eventually, as you're earning more income, now go ahead and get the software, even if it's billed to the agency voucher. Just get it at the proper time. Okay. Now, here's a bonus question. Can I experience your agent training before I sign on to your agency? Basically, can I sit in on your training session? I want to know what I'm going to experience. And let them tell you, yeah, come on into this training. We're going to be talking about fact finding, or we're going to be talking about the product, or whatever it is. Um, there should be no, I can't think of any real reason why not, but that's a powerful question to ask. Okay, because you'll come in on your time to their schedule to sit in and see what the training's like. Imagine being trained before you start. I mean, wouldn't that be a beautiful thing? I would think every manager would love to have that. Let's get them trained before they start. And they might say, well, what happens if we train them and they go somewhere else? What happens if you don't train them and they come on board? So, sometimes we get into silly things. But what we do is so proprietary. Yeah and no. Truth is that I would go where the value is. Okay, but that's me. That's my business ethical decisions. I'd say, look, if that training was really good for that one session, imagine what I can learn if I keep going there and being around those same like-minded people. That's a culture to be a part of. And if you have someone who doesn't want to be a part of that culture, you know what? You trained them for a day, or they came on board for a while and then they left. Okay, that's part of the nature of the business. It's just the way it works. Hopefully, we're elevating the profession at the same time. Okay, 3A, major life insurance product knowledge. Let me tell you this from my own experience. Life insurance is one of the most complex products I've ever learned about. Assets under management, securities, annuities, everything else was far easier than learning the intricacies of how life insurance works. It's taken me a long time. And for me personally, I've got a lot of blog articles about it and how it works, not just within the contract itself, but how it relates to every aspect of your financial life. It's a miracle product. So here's my question. If I'm asking this, if I was brand new, this is the question you got to ask. Can you teach me all about your flagship product, which is cash value life insurance, and how it can fit in someone's total financial situation and its features, its benefits, its advantages, and its drawbacks without using software in any way so that anyone can understand it? I'm going to add that word "so" in there. Now, here's the thing. You see, when I was at a prior agency, we had this software package. And the whole idea of the software package was to prove that people needed life insurance. We're going to prove it to you. And essentially, we're going to prove it to you beyond a shadow of a doubt. You need this. Let me show you why. I'm not going to go down that path anymore. I'm done being in the arguing business. Okay? I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to convince. None of that. All I want to do is be able to showcase this is what this is. This is how it works. This is what it does. Now, you can do it this way, or you can do it this way. What makes most sense to you? That's what I'd rather do. I want to serve. I want to give choices, not prove, not argue. That's what I want to do. Now, I'm going to give you a learning shortcut on this because I'm going to assume that not too many people know that much. And it's unfortunate because I've talked to them. And I've experienced their training. And you would think, logically, you would think that a company that's been around for 150 years or 100 years or whatever time frame it is, you would think that they'd know how to sell it, how to sell their best product. They don't. I don't know. It's the biggest conundrum out there. I don't know why these agencies don't know how to sell it. And so they defer to use this program, use this thing, go get your CLU because that'll teach you. I've ordered the CLU textbooks. You can get them on Amazon for $5 a piece, including the shipping. There's not much out in there. It's primarily death benefit focused, and it shows you how to use the death benefit in different situations. Not a bad thing. At the same time, it doesn't portray it as something that people want. You're trying to portray it as something that people need to get a certain thing done. I have a different philosophy. I think everybody should have permanent life insurance. Now, the learning shortcut is this. There's 3 levels of life insurance. You have investment grade, or up to the MEC limit funding. You have less than MEC funding, and then you have term insurance. Term insurance is the least. Investment grade life insurance is the highest, and they have everything in between. And so you have to be able to understand, how can I make this work based on what I'm trying to solve? And why would I want to maximum fund a contract? So I have a YouTube thing. Search for this in YouTube. Search for Guy Baker, The Box. It's a fantastic, a little bit more cerebral approach to life insurance, but it helps you understand why we need to either fund the box or pay the curve. Once you learn that, everything gets far easier. They'll also search for 10-minute lesson on life insurance. Someone always has this kind of video out there, and it's a great orientation as to all the different benefits. So just in case you're interviewing at firms and they can't answer that question, here you go. It's there. My philosophy. All right, if you have to use software to prove that life insurance is good, you don't know it well enough. Software should be used to help you enhance the client experience and understanding rather than be a substitute for lack of knowledge and trying to just prove something. Okay? So if you want to use this to create a special experience, that's a beautiful thing. But if you don't know about life insurance well enough, it's not going to work. Because all you're trying to do is say, look, the software says it works. But selling is about human interaction. It's not about learning from a computer. The computer is supposed to enhance. Okay, next part. This is some minor stuff. Agency management and training history. I want to know how many agents are currently producing in your agency at various levels of MDRT qualification. MDRT is a big barometer in the insurance industry. You might be saying, I don't care about MDRT, but you should care about who's qualifying at different levels. So who's at the MDRT currently 98,000 level for 2020? Who's at 98,000? Who's at core to the table, which is 3 times MDRT or 294,000? And who's at top of the table, 6 times MDRT or 588,000? Now, there might not be that many at top of the table. That's okay. I'm not worried about that. Just show me who's producing higher. Now, why do I ask that? Well, I got an agent ranking report through October of this year of my old agency. And as of right now, there's only one person that qualifies at MDRT. There's about 2 or 3 more that are just barely under that MDRT level. And they're barely there at October. You know, there's some people that can make MDRT the first week. Well, not their first week. I'm sorry. That's an exaggeration. But they can make MDRT in a week once they're fully trained and they know what they're doing. But these are the experienced people, and I know their names. And they've been there for a long time. Quite frankly, I hope that they're producing outside business, because that's not good enough. Okay, next question. Which new agents have you personally trained to reach MDRT qualification levels of production? I don't care about the experienced agents. Sometimes there are some agencies that just rely on recruiting experienced agents, and they just want to capitalize on their production somehow. Somehow they're giving them, well, they can get the employee benefits of being a captive agent, which is health insurance, group benefits, and maybe have discounted E&O, whatever it is. So there's different things there that experienced agents might like. At the same time, their production doesn't matter. If you recruit an experienced agent doing $500,000 a year, that's great. You didn't create their success. You have recruited that success. So for new agents, how long did it take for them to reach MDRT? What were their obstacles? What are their strengths? And ask this: may I take them out to lunch and talk with them? That's a good idea. Ask them, what would they have done differently knowing what they now know? Okay. Now, this is another minor part, time management. When are training meetings held? Are they held during prime selling hours? And is a major thing. Will training go beyond just the what of what you can do with products to include why someone would want to do it? That's a big key, because if you get someone to want to do things for their own reasons, not just say, hey, this is what you can do. No one cares about what you can do. It's a good idea. Good ideas are a dime a dozen. You need to connect with why someone would want to do it so they can say, oh, my life can greatly be improved because I have this. That's what you want. Okay, some other considerations. We'll go through this rather quickly here. What costs am I responsible for before I sign on? Which is typically your insurance license, and sometimes there are some firms that require you to get your securities licenses. Those are usually at your cost until you get signed on. They reimburse you back, or they reimburse you after you place your first piece of business, something like that. By the way, legitimate firms don't have too many hurdles on reimbursing you back for passing. I did sit in one group interview once, and they said, you get that money back after 6 months with the firm. I'm like, what? That is unheard of. Something's wrong there if they're going to wait 6 months before you get your money back. Okay. Now, what costs are you responsible for after you sign on? What are your ongoing costs? So typical could be your E&O costs, Arizona emissions insurance, cubicle costs, office costs, telephone costs, copies, internet costs. There's different things that you may be billed for. When does that billing take place? And when are those costs waived? So, for example, I remember at that old agency, I think $66,000 per year was the objective. And so if you did what you needed to do every month, I don't know the number. Let's just say it's 6,000 a month, because that'll do more than that. So if you do $6,000 of commission per month, then all those office costs are waived. So that's kind of nice. But if you're not earning that, then you're being charged. Okay, so it's kind of an agency voucher system. Also, any group benefits that you elect to are also part of the voucher. Any, so group health, group life, group disability, so if you have certain group benefits in there, that would be there. Now, this part's a major concern here. How does my status change if I become approved for a financed contract? And the reason I bring this up is sometimes your ability to get compliance approvals on marketing materials may become far more limited. Better to ask up front. I remember I used to get some things approved, and then, obviously they would adjust some things here and there to get things approved, but they would approve it. But once I got my finance contract, they said, we don't do that for finance contracts. It's like being punished for being successful and doing what they want you to do. Know this up front. I had another guy, we were talking about some things, and he had this, it's a very common poem out there called I Am Your Life Insurance Policy. And you know what, there's nothing as a problem about it. Now, he actually asked for permission, as a new agent should, asked for permission, can I hand this out upon policy delivery? And compliance said no. First of all, that's stupid. The second part is that, you're being punished for being successful. And I don't like that. Don't inhibit my creativity. Let me submit my stuff. Let me get it approved. You want me producing more business. Don't punish me for being successful. At least that's the way I felt. Okay. Next part, compliance for social media and marketing. Website, blog, email newsletters, etc. I'm an independent agent. I don't have to worry about that. As long as I don't put anything stupid in writing, I'm good. But when you're a captive agent, you may have to friend your compliance officer on various social media platforms, and depending on your licensing and things, you might not be able to have full freedom on what you're talking about. So find that out. Securities licensing requirements, if any. Which ones? Oops, I hit a button. Here we go. Okay, so securities licensing requirements, if any. Which ones? Typically, most insurance agencies would want you to get a Series 6 and 63, and later on get a Series 65. I'm not going to go into all what they all are, but typically that's what it is. But more firms that consider themselves in wealth management will want you to get a Series 7 and a 66. By the way, the 66 is simply the 63, the 65 combined. If I've thoroughly confused you, you can look it up. It's all out there on the internet. So you'll figure out what kind it is, because, if you're selling life insurance primarily, the Series 6 just means that you can sell mutual funds and variable insurance contracts. The Series 7 takes that to another level, which is stocks, bonds, ETFs, municipal bonds. There's a bunch of things. Stock market call options. Stock market stock options. Anyway, there's a bunch of different things in there. For your licensing, is it reimbursable, and when do you get the cost back, or a bonus, or whatever it is? Just find out. Industry designations. I do believe in higher education, especially industry-specific education. So those are some listed there. Will the firm pay for them? Or is just and what's required for reimbursement? Usually you have to be on track to hit a certain goal. If you're on track for a Leaders Club, you're on track for the Inner Circle, whatever it is, you should be able to get reimbursement for your advanced certifications. Association memberships, just ask about it, especially for NAFA. Typically, I know that there's some companies that have agreements with NAFA where the company will actually pay your dues for you. And if they're doing that, then that's a free benefit. You might as well take advantage of it. Go to those meetings. Go to any training sessions they have. Just fantastic. Don't count on that being your primary source of training, but be open to all kinds of ideas from all kinds of people. Can you contract with other companies to offer their products? So find out about that. That's what we call being semi-captive. And being semi-captive is all about being able to write other business while your primary duty is with your primary company. So, so being able to pick and choose who's going to work with your primary company and who's like, well, you know what, this product is a little bit better for you. And quite frankly, you might say, this might be a chargeback risk, and I don't want to risk my primary contract, so I'll put it to that company over there. So it just depends on what the situation is. Ask if they have a company-sponsored brokerage that you can put that business through. This way you do get some production credit towards your contracts, rather than just sourcing out your own contracts on your own. Okay? Better to get credit for all those things. Keep it in-house. So summing up, deficiencies in major areas are areas that you will have to make up for yourself somehow. So if you're interviewing and they say, look, we just need you to get business, that's your job. Get out into the marketplace, go talk to people. If it feels vague, it might mean that it's vague. So you have to make that up for your own training somehow. Minor areas may be annoying, but they're manageable. You just need to know. Bonus areas are simply great to ask and find out regardless of the answer. However, if you're interviewing that person and they are upfront with you about what they have and what they don't have, I have to respect that kind of level of honesty and disclosure. You just have to figure out how you can fill in the gaps in an industry compliant and a firm compliant manner. Okay. Now, at this point, I'm going to talk about some of my favorite resources, because I don't believe in leaving agents hanging out there. Again, if you have the NC-DART criteria, you need to be given, if you're bringing what you need to bring, all you need now is the training to activate everything so you can be a great producer. But if you don't have the training, you can't do it. So these are some of my favorite resources, because if the agency can't help you get the tools and training you need, you have two choices. Find the tools and training yourself, or you leave the industry, or you find another firm that's going to help you with that. Now, here's my other question. This is the bonus question. If you have to find the tools and training yourself, why should you stay at that agency when you can be independent and keep more of the earnings for yourself? Okay, that's a key question. I'm not going to answer that for you, but at the same time, if you're going to be in an agency, you need to be in an agency that actually is going to continually feed and nurture you. Meaning, I'm not talking about like a baby. What I'm talking about is that they have an ongoing growth environment that you can consistently continue to learn and grow from. That's the environment you need, and that's the environment you should be willing to pay for to be around. If they don't have that environment, they're not worth splitting your commissions with and them earning an override on whatever you would produce. Okay, so prospecting training. I've got two great resources. One of them costs some money, the other one does not, at least at this time. The Explanation of Services by Thomas Love. Tom Love, my God, he's a multi-seven-figure income earner. He does mentor other agents for a case split. He's one of the very few people that I would definitely consider doing business with on a long-term basis, because he brings that value. Just fantastic. But if you just want the prospecting training, currently it's $297. I think it's some online videos and such. Go to theexplanationofservices.com. It's also more of a challenger approach. You're definitely leading with boldness. The Selling Without Wrestling with Sid Walker. Hey, that one's free. You can't beat free. Sid Walker has more of a relationship-oriented approach, which means I'm a good guy. I've got great ideas. I'm here to serve you in many ways as I can. Can we get together and I show you what I do for an hour? Something like that, but there's more to it than that. But it's worth checking out if you have nothing else to rely on. Okay? Referral training. My referral coach is Sandy Chazelle. I've heard of the other names. Bill Cates, good guy, slightly off the mark for me. Wayne Cotton, very expensive, good guy. Definitely follow him on LinkedIn. He's got some fantastic training videos. His system, a little bit too on the needy side for me, because you're saying my business needs people who do this. I can't walk up to people on the street. Well, you could, but you don't want to. Sandy's, let me tell you this. It's not based on your need. It's not based on your greed. It's not based on any gimmicks. I had a referral program once that said, we'll give you $1,000 worth of grocery coupons for every name that you refer to us. How desperate can you position yourself? So we don't want to be needy. We don't want to be greedy. We don't want any gimmicks. We want to be sincere. We want to be authentic. We want to be genuine. Sandy teaches that. And he teaches it for a bargain. So get his stuff. And you don't have to look anywhere else. Every once in a while I'll read up on people's opinions on referrals. Like, nope, Sandy teaches it better. He's mastered it. I don't think anybody else has mastered it as well as he has. And I've seen and read a ton of books on this subject. I don't have to read up on it anymore. I'm not looking for any books on referrals unless someone offers to send me their book and I'll take a look at it. Okay, fact finding and recommendations. The Insurance Pro Shop. You can actually use that training anywhere you go because it's not based on someone's software program. Now, you might have some issues with how they present it through compliance. That's a possibility, but really, it's one of the most compliant ways you can go, and it's one of the most effective ways you can go because they teach you how to do things in a two-call close. And yes, you can do major business the way they teach it. So this isn't just, hey, features, benefits, price, do you want to buy? This is, let's find out what you want to accomplish. Let me show you some concepts. Let's make sure I can be the right one to help you. The Insurance Pro Shop is fantastic at it. Now with them, start with their online video training. You can buy a system after you've experienced their training. It's a great way to get going. Now, also in the description below, I'm going to have a link for a PDF document of my favorite unlisted MDRT video and audio recordings. These are on my channel, but you can't search for them. You'll find a link to that, and it will have some Ben Feldman, John Savage, Norm Levine, Mehdi Fakhrizadeh, and many more of what I think is some of the best training material from the $1 Million Roundtable. Obviously, it's not really training. These are speeches, but you can get little bits of information that you can use to integrate into your processes. I think it's great. Of course, I'm biased. Anyway, that is my guide to interview the interviewer. I hope it's appreciated. I hope that you use it in your own manner. This is going to be a downloadable document so that you can make changes to it or whatever. I would recommend that you print it out, leave out the resources because that's not for anybody else to know. But use the document, write down the answers separately on a legal pad or something, and use that to help show that you are serious about this career. Bring what you need to bring, which is the characteristics you need for success. Then ask them to make sure that they can help you become the producer you need. By the way, if you're a manager, if it were me, this probably won't be approved by compliance because it has to be part of advertising, right? If it were me, every time someone met with you for an interview to be an agent, I would say, look, you're interviewing for these kinds of positions. This is what I would be looking at. I can answer every single one of those questions for you. I can guide you in all those areas. Use this as a guide for any other firm that you're interviewing with, and make sure that they can really help you. Make sure that they're on that. And the fact that you hand them these questions, obviously without the last page, but if you were the one handing them these questions, they're going to see that you're the real deal. Everyone else might not measure up as much. And even if they don't come to you, maybe you help them to help weed out something so that they can find something that they're more comfortable with. Fantastic. But this would be a great way to attract people to work with you, saying that you have more of a mindset behind this business and that you're worth working with. Just my opinion. I'm going to leave this recording with that. Thanks for listening. Make it a great day.